Super Bowl 2023 was hosted at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona this year, and as celebrities fled to Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Paradise Valley, they coughed up unimaginable amounts of money on their Airbnb accommodations. Short-term rentals in this region were, in a lot of cases, fetching thousands of dollars per night, with the Super Bowl halftime show star Rihanna's Airbnb taking the cake for the most expensive accommodation in town by far. She paid a whopping $85,000 per night for her house. Most people who initially saw these headlines thought that there must have been some typo or catch, because who in their right mind would spend $85,000 per night on an Airbnb? But this is all totally legit and confirmed, you guys. Rihanna's total bill for her 6 nights in Arizona to stay in a house in Paradise Valley was over $500,000. Bonkers. A lot of stars had to align for this to happen, and in reality, I don't think that we'll ever see another house out here in Arizona rent at this nightly rate again. Today, let's talk about everything there is to know about Rihanna's $85,000 per night short-term rental. Now, something super important to point out here is that the Super Bowl of 2023 happened on February 12th when the Chiefs faced the Eagles. And this exact week happened to be in the heart of literally the busiest tourist season of the year for Phoenix. See, we've got the Waste Management Phoenix Open in North Scottsdale. This is a massive golf tournament that runs from February 6th to February 12th. And the city sees about 600,000 tourists for this golf tournament alone. Then in the weeks prior, we had the Barrett-Jackson car auction in Scottsdale as well. Here they auction off thousands of supercars and classic cars. We get around 300,000 tourists for Barrett-Jackson. And last, of course, Phoenix hosted the Super Bowl this year. And even though State Farm Stadium only seats around 70,000 people, it's estimated that several 100,000 more people visited town just to be a part of all the action. If you're keeping up with the math here, over 1 million people visited the Phoenix area over the course of this roughly 1 week span of time. To put this in perspective, there's only 1.625 million total residents in Phoenix. Needless to say, this town was absolutely insane for the week of Super Bowl 2023. 1 million people visiting Phoenix obviously translated into crazy high demand for both hotels and short-term rentals all over the valley. And while some hosts priced their houses too high or just didn't have houses that were in the right locations where tourists wanted to be, other hosts like Spyro Malaspinas cashed in big time. This is the guy who rented his house out to Rihanna for $85,000 per night. What's crazy about this story is that Spyro actually lived in this home when this all unfolded. It turns out he owned another rental property in the area, and his property management company called him up to basically say, "Hey, we've got an offer for you." Mr. Malaspinas replied with, "The last thing I am is a real estate baron, but my pride's not that big. I don't mind moving out for $500,000 a week." I'm just trying to put myself in this guy's shoes for a minute. I mean, can you imagine getting a phone call out of the blue that says, "Hey, your house is awesome. I know you live in it and everything, but I have somebody who's willing to pay you $500,000 to sleep in your house for a week"? I think I would have moved out too if I was in his shoes. Spyro later shared that the rental income would cover his mortgage payments for 2 years, and believe it or not, at the time, he didn't even know who would be sleeping in his home. He only later learned that his tenant was actually Rihanna. Now, I put a video about this out on my Instagram back when this news first broke, and understandably, nobody understood how any house would be worth $85,000 a night. And I tend to agree, this is an unimaginable amount of money. I mean, there are some markets in the US where $85,000 will buy you an entire house. This property is located in an area called Paradise Valley, which is literally one of the most expensive and desirable parts of the city. Paradise Valley is Arizona's wealthiest municipality. It's centrally located within the city, and the area is loaded with $5, $10, $15, and $20 million homes. Mr. Malaspinas bought his home in 2022. This is it behind me. He paid $7.3 million. It's It's a really nice place. It's got 6,400 square feet, 5 bedrooms, is sitting on about an acre, and we're surrounded by a bunch of other really high-end homes. Unfortunately, the photos of this house available on Zillow are from 2019. The previous owner bought this house in the condition that you see here in these photos. Then they completed an extensive renovation on the house, ripping out the flooring, the baseboards, the cabinets, the countertops, the light fixtures, the bathrooms, literally everything before remodeling and then reselling the house to Spyro. TMZ though somehow dug up more current photos of the place. Here's what it looks like now on the outside from a drone. This is one of the seating areas with a piano, a wine room, and windows looking out front. Here is the main living room. This is what the dining room, the kitchen, and the backyard look like now. We got a pretty big master with 2 sinks, a soaking tub, and then a big closet there in the back. Then speaking of the backyard, out back this house has a swimming pool, a spa, a fireplace, a bocce ball court, and a basketball court. Really nice house. I know it doesn't have that sleek contemporary look that a lot of people are looking for nowadays, but it is very comfy and cozy looking. I can understand why Rihanna wanted to stay here. If you're wondering what the host, Mr. Malaspinas, does for a living to be able to afford a $7 million house to begin with, Mansion Global reported that he is a 48-year-old cybersecurity expert. And according to his LinkedIn profile, he is the principal of a company called 3Factor, who is a boutique consulting firm specializing in incident response, breach management, compliance, and security program management. I'm still not 100% clear on what all of that means, but clearly he's in the right line of work if he can afford a house in Paradise Valley. This whole story is over the top. We've got a billionaire musician who paid over $500,000 for her accommodations when she performed out here for the Super Bowl. We've got a millionaire family who made $500,000 and all they had to do was move out of their house for a week. But what's even crazier is I don't even think that Rihanna had to cough up the bill for this stay. See, I didn't realize this until I started researching for today's episode, but performers of the Super Bowl halftime show are actually not paid for that performance at all. The only thing that the NFL does pay for is all expenses associated with putting on the halftime show, including the travel costs. I guess if I was Rihanna and the Super Bowl was paying for my Airbnb, I would have paid $85,000 per night when I came out here for the Super Bowl as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed the episode today. If you did, make sure to remember to hit that like button down below before you go. And remember too, if you want to hear more random real estate news like this more often, make sure you're following my newsletter. I send it out every Friday and I load it up with what's going on in my life, plus more real estate stories just like we talked about today. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys next time.